I pulled into the driveway, my hands gripping the steering wheel a little too tightly. The engine hummed beneath me, but I didn't shut it off right away. I just sat there, staring at the house. Something felt off. It wasn't anything obvious. No broken windows, no unfamiliar cars parked outside. It was just a feeling, a wrongness I couldn't shake. I exhaled, rubbing my temples. Maybe it was just exhaustion. The workday had drained me, and all I wanted was to step inside, hug my wife, and hear my kids arguing over something dumb like who got to sit in the best chair at dinner. But as I opened the car door, that uneasy feeling only grew stronger. The first thing I noticed when I stepped inside was the silence. Our house was never silent. With 4 kids, noise was a constant companion. Someone was always yelling, laughing, or running up and down the stairs. Even when they were asleep, the hum of the TV, the occasional clatter of dishes, or the muffled sound of Emma talking on the phone filled the space. But tonight, nothing. I set my keys on the counter, frowning. Emma? No answer. I walked into the kitchen expecting to see her fixing dinner or helping one of the kids with homework. Instead, I saw something else. A single sheet of paper, folded neatly on the kitchen table. A chill ran down my spine. I reached for it, my fingers stiff and cold. My name was scribbled across the top in Emma's handwriting. I unfolded it slowly. I left. Don't look for me. Just leave me alone. I read it twice, then a third time. The words didn't make sense. She left? Where? Why? The house felt like it was, collapsing in on me. I glanced around, searching for some sign that this was a joke, but nothing was out of place. Then I noticed something. The shoes she always kept by the door? Gone. The jacket she wore every morning? Missing. I turned and bolted, up the stairs, taking 2 at a time. The bedroom door swung open, and my stomach clenched. Half of the closet was empty. Her drawers, usually stuffed with clothes, were half pulled out, some left open like she had packed in a hurry. I moved to the bathroom. Her perfume, gone. The bar. Expensive skincare she swore by. Missing. I gripped the counter, my breath coming in short bursts. This wasn't a joke. She really left. I stumbled back into the bedroom, running a shaking hand through my hair. My eyes landed on the bed, the place where we had spent years together, talking, laughing, making love. Now it felt like a stranger's room. My phone buzzed. The sudden noise made me flinch. I yanked it out of my pocket, half expecting it to be her. Some explanation. Anything. But it wasn't Emma. It was the school. I almost didn't answer. My brain was too scattered, too overwhelmed. But something told me to pick up. Hello? My voice was hoarse. Mr. Carter? The voice on the other end was tense. You need to come to the hospital. It's Liam. My stomach dropped. I broke every speed limit getting there. By the time I sprinted through the hospital doors, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give out. A nurse spotted me, instantly. Mr. Carter? This way. What happened? I managed to ask between breaths. He collapsed during recess, she said, her voice quick and professional. The paramedics brought him in. His vitals were unstable and his condition is serious. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Liam was fine this morning, I said, my voice cracking. Sometimes these things progress quickly, she said, leading me through a maze of hallways. When we reached the ICU, I saw him. Liam, my boy, my second-born. He was hooked up to machines, his small body looking even smaller under the weight of all the wires and tubes. I sank into the chair beside his bed, my hands shaking. Dad? His voice was weak, barely above a whisper. I forced a smile. Hey, buddy. I'm right here. His eyelids fluttered shut. A doctor stepped in. Mr. Carter? I turned, my throat tight. Just tell me. The doctor sighed. Liam's liver is failing. Breath hitched. What? He has a genetic condition, the doctor explained. It's affecting his liver function. We need to act quickly. The best chance for survival is an immediate transplant from a parent. A parent. I latched onto those words, like a lifeline. Test me. Now. The doctor nodded. We'll start immediately. An hour later, they took my blood. I spent the next few hours by Liam's bedside, watching the rise and fall of his chest, listening to the rhythmic beeping of the machines. Then the doctor returned. His expression made my stomach clench. "Mr. Carter, I need to speak with you privately." I followed him into his office, my mind racing. The doctor cleared his throat. "We got your results back." I gripped the chair's armrests. "Am I a match?" The doctor hesitated. "No," he said finally. My whole body went still. "But, Emma..." My voice cracked. "She'll be a match, right? She has to be." The doctor didn't answer immediately. He shifted in his chair. "Mr. Carter," he said carefully, "you are not a match because..." He exhaled. "You are not biologically related to Liam." I blinked. I heard the words. I understood them. But my brain refused to accept them. "I don't understand," I whispered. He gave me a sympathetic look. "We ran the test twice. Genetically, you are not Liam's father." The walls felt like they were closing in. I gripped the chair harder, trying to anchor myself. Not Liam's father. Not Liam's father. My ears rang. My mouth went dry. This had to be a mistake. But deep down, something inside me whispered that it wasn't. Emma was gone. Liam was dying, and now I knew why. I had 2 days to find her, because if I didn't, I might lose everything. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the hospital chair, staring at my hands, feeling my world collapse in slow motion. Liam isn't mine. The words looped in my brain, refusing to settle. But I didn't have time to break down. Because if Emma didn't get here soon, our son would die. I grabbed my phone and called her again. Voicemail. I sent another text. Me. "Emma, answer the damn phone. Liam is in the hospital. He needs a transplant, now." No response. I clenched my jaw, my pulse hammering. I had 2 days to find her. By morning, I had exhausted every logical option. I called Emma's family, her mother, her sister. No one knew where she was. Or maybe they did, and just wouldn't tell me. That left one person. Claire. Emma's best friend. The only person she ever truly confided in. I hesitated before dialing. Claire had always been kind to me, but she was loyal to Emma. If she knew where my wife had gone, she wouldn't just hand me the answer. The phone rang 3 times before she picked up. "James?" Her voice was groggy. "Claire, where is she?" Silence. "Please," I said, gripping the phone tighter. "It's Liam. He needs her." I heard her exhale. Then, reluctantly, "She's in Colorado." My breath caught. She left the state? Where in Colorado? Another pause. Then she gave me an address. I hung up before she could change her mind. The drive was a blur. I gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, my mind racing. Why did she leave? Who was she with? Was this planned? By the time I pulled up to the address, the sky was tinged with gray. My heart pounded. My hands felt like ice. I knocked hard. Footsteps. Then the door opened, and there she was. Emma. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She looked different. Relaxed. Comfortable. Like she belonged here. Like she had moved on. My stomach twisted. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice too calm. I clenched my fists. "Liam is dying. He needs a transplant. You need to come now." Her face paled, but she didn't move. "Emma," I growled, "get in the damn car." She hesitated, then nodded. I didn't ask about the house, the car in the driveway, the man I could feel watching from the window. None of it mattered, because Liam was all that mattered. The hospital was quiet when we arrived. Emma went straight to the lab. I waited outside, pacing, my nerves raw. An hour later, the doctor confirmed. She was a match. The transplant was scheduled immediately. Liam would live. But I still had no answers. We sat in the hospital cafeteria, the silence between us stretching like a chasm. I stared at her, my voice ice. "Who is he?" Emma rubbed her temple. "Does it matter?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Are you kidding me? Of course it matters," she sighed. "His name is Mark." The name sent a jolt through me. I knew a Mark, but it couldn't be. "How long?" My voice was tight. She hesitated. Then, years. I inhaled sharply, gripping the edge of the table. Which kids are his? Her silence said everything. All of them. I felt the world tilt. Emma reached for my hand, but I yanked it away. You knew, she said softly. Deep down, you always knew. I wanted to scream. But the terrifying part? She was right. I sat in the hospital cafeteria staring at her, my mind a tangled mess of rage, betrayal, and confusion. All of them. Every single child I had raised, loved, sacrificed for, not mine. The words felt unreal, like a cruel joke, but Emma's face told me the truth. She wasn't denying it. She wasn't even apologizing. I exhaled sharply, gripping the table's edge until my knuckles turned white. You're lying, I whispered, my voice barely steady. Emma shook her head. No, James, I'm not. I clenched my jaw. You're telling me that for over a decade I lived in a lie, that every single one of them belongs to... I stopped, swallowing bile. Him. Emma didn't flinch. Yes. A hollow laugh escaped my throat. It sounded wrong, jagged, broken. You let me love them. You let me believe they were mine. And you just... What? Expected me never to find out? Emma sighed, rubbing her forehead. I didn't expect anything. I just... let things happen. Let things happen. I shot to my feet so fast the chair screeched against the floor. Are you even human? I hissed. Do you even feel anything? Regret? Guilt? Anything at all? She looked up at me with tired eyes. You wouldn't understand. I slammed my fists against the table. Try me. The days blurred together after that conversation. Liam's transplant was successful. He was recovering. And despite everything, despite knowing the truth, I still sat beside him, held his hand when he was in pain, reassured him that everything would be okay. But I knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be okay again. I had to know for certain. I needed undeniable proof, so I did what any broken man would do. I took a DNA test for all 4 kids. It took 3 days to get the results. 3 days of silence. 3 days of staring at my phone, waiting for the notification. Then, finally, it came. I sat in my car gripping the envelope, my pulse hammering. I opened it. % match. I blinked. My breath caught in my throat. Not one. Not one. I laughed. A hollow, bitter, shattered laugh. I had lived a lie for 12 years. And the worst part? I never even suspected. I called Emma. She didn't answer. I drove to the house. She was gone. Coward, I still had Claire's number. She picked up on the second ring. Where is she? Silence. Then a sigh. At Mark's. I hung up. I knew where he lived. The drive to his house was a blur. My knuckles were white against the steering wheel, my mind a storm of rage and disbelief. I pulled up to his house, my jaw clenched. So tight it hurt. I knocked, the door swung open, and there he was, Mark, tall, confident, smug, like he had been expecting me. James, he said smoothly. Took you long enough. Something inside me snapped. You knew, I said. My voice was low, controlled, dangerous. Mark leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Of course I knew. I clenched my fists. How long? He smirked. Since the beginning. My pulse roared in my ears. Why? He shrugged. She came to me. She wanted a family. You couldn't give her one. A sickening laugh bubbled in my throat. And you were just happy to step in? His smirk widened. Guess I was. My hands shook. You ruined my life. Mark tilted his head. Did I? That was it. I swung, my fist connected with his jaw. The impact sent him stumbling back. He wiped his lip, grinning. Feel better? No, I felt nothing. I turned and walked away. I didn't go home. I sat in my car, staring at the road ahead. My life was in ruins. My wife was gone. My children weren't. Mine. I had nowhere to go, nowhere to belong. My phone buzzed, a message from Emma. We need to talk. I stared at it for a long time. Then I turned off my phone and drove. because right now I didn't know what the hell to do, and maybe neither do you. I didn't turn my phone back on. I didn't go home. I just drove. One highway blurred into another, the road stretching endlessly in front of me. The night swallowed the car's headlights, and for the first time in days, I was alone with my thoughts. 12 years. 4 children. One massive lie. I gripped the steering wheel, so hard my fingers ached. My mind kept looping back to the same thought. What the hell do I do now? I had spent over a decade being a husband and a father. That was my entire identity. And now I was nothing. I pulled over at a gas station somewhere off the interstate. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. I leaned against the car, staring at the sky, trying to find some kind of clarity in the silence. What was I supposed to do? Emma had betrayed me. Mark had mocked me. And the kids, my stomach twisted. They weren't mine. That was the truth. The scientific truth. But they didn't know that. To them, I was still Dad. The man who tucked them in at night. The man who sat front row at their school plays. The man who taught them how to ride bikes, who stayed up all night when they were sick, who made them laugh even when they didn't want to. Did that still mean something, or had it all been stolen from me? After what felt like hours, I finally turned my phone back on. The messages flooded in. Emma, 5:43 a.m. We need to talk. Emma, 6:15 a.m. I know you're angry, but please. Emma, 8:02 a.m. Are you even alive? Claire, 10:30 a.m. Whatever you're planning, don't. Emma, 11 a.m. Please, James, the kids need you. The kids. My hands trembled as I stared at those words. I took a deep breath and called her. She picked up on the second ring. James? Her voice was cautious, careful, like she wasn't sure what version of me she was going to get. Where are they? I asked, skipping the small talk. She hesitated. At my sister's. I exhaled sharply, my jaw clenching. Are you there? 2? Another pause. Then, no, I'm at the house. The house. Our house. I wiped a hand over my face. I'm coming. I pulled into the driveway an hour later. The lights were on. The curtains were drawn. She was waiting. Emma stood on the porch, arms crossed, watching me as I stepped out of the car. She looked different. Tired. Like someone who had already fought every battle and was now bracing for the last one. Neither of us spoke as I climbed the steps. We just stood there, staring at each other. Finally, I broke the silence. Do they know? She shook her head. No. I let out a shaky breath. Do you want them to? Emma's eyes filled with something I couldn't name. Do you? I didn't have an answer, because for the first time since this nightmare started, I didn't know what was right. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, and maybe, just maybe, neither do you.